Okay, Zibuse, tell me and the other unlearners that are watching and listening to this, what was your great unlearning?
My greatest unlearning was not to see people for the position that they occupy or the office that they occupy. So I had to see them for who they are. And that has changed how I relate with people. It has enabled me to actually give to people more than always looking at taking and taking and taking.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I literally got goosebumps. Okay, unlearners, if you don't think this is going to be good, I definitely do. So let's get into today's episode of the UnLearners podcast. The UnLearners. Learn, change, learn, change, the unlearn. I think if you take one courageous step at a time, it's going to be such the unlearn. Learn, change, grow. Hello there, Unlearner. Welcome to this episode of the UnLearners podcast. It is amazing to have you in the virtual room today, wherever you are watching or listening to this. Welcome to the episode, and thank you for choosing to take a little bit of time out of your day to say, today I want to challenge the status quo. Today I want to spend time with other unlearners who are going through a journey that is so similar to mine so that we can all bind together and really understand that the journey of unlearning is not just for you, but everyone you meet is on a journey of letting go and grabbing hold consistently. And my guest today is no different from that. Someone that when I first met them, they were doing something really profound to inspire a community. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with yourself. Zibuse, welcome to the UnLearners podcast.
Yay! I'm excited to be here. It's one of those things that I just enjoy doing, having conversations. And I've been stalking you for a while. I think since 2021 on your birthday.
Oh, that's so, you're going to make me cry. Okay, not yet. Thank you very much for joining us. It's literally such a pleasure because, and you and I have spoken about this, and I hope I've told you, but when I speak to you and when I see your work on Instagram as well, there is just this beautiful energy that you radiate. So whatever it is that you are doing, whatever keeps you doing that, whatever keeps you serving and supporting people and sharing content that inspires, keep doing it. I hope that that thing, that flame, whatever it is, that it never dies because you are. I don't know if anyone can feel your sunshine energy because I'm feeling it already. Maybe it's because you're wearing a yellow top. Do you think that's why?
I don't know, but when you were saying that, I'm thinking, is it really me that you're talking about?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So beautifully deserved. So I want to now get into your unlearning journey because when
Yes.
you shared right at the beginning in the intro, it hit me so hard because we get brought up in whether it's a corporate environment, whether it's at home, at school, we get brought up and taught that when someone holds a position of power, then that person is instantly, without question, better. And I use the word better very intentionally.
Yeah.
They are better than everyone else who doesn't. So today's conversation, I think Zibuse is going to relate to so many people and have other people who might still be in that place to ask themselves, what can I do to challenge that? So let's start right in the beginning. Where did it start? Where did it come from? This idea that, when let's say, for example, we're at a networking event and someone says, hey, I'm the CEO, I'm the COO of this company. We instantly, most of us, me definitely in the past, would go, okay, this person must really have something for me. What can I get? What can I get? Tell me a bit about where that started.
Yeah. I think I also used to be like that, where I would look at a position and then go, wow, this person is powerful. This person must have something for me to give. But as much as they do have something to give, as much as they in their own right are powerful, there's always something that we too can give towards them. But there's also this thing that even when it's a celebrity or it's a politician, it also becomes that thing that, wow, this person. But when you look at them and you don't become like a groupie and you run to them, you kind of give them a chance to have everybody else go and flock to them. But when it's all said and done, you can engage with them on a human level. And you can then start getting to know who they are for not the position that they occupy. Excuse me. But the biggest, I think, change for me was when I met my wife. And when we started dating and I got to learn the contacts who were on her phone and the people that knew her by first name, that changed me. Like, this person has so many people in her contacts list, and they refer her as just someone, and yet they are not fazed by them. They don't see the position that they occupy. And I wondered, okay, maybe is this person really arrogant, or are they humble, or what's going on? And then when we started engaging more, I then got to learn that no, she is as important as they are, right? So they are not more important than she is in life. And therefore, she can then relate to them as people. But then when you immediately do that, you then soon learn that they have certain needs, they have certain challenges that they are going through, and it makes it easier then to see them as people.
Beautifully said. I think that that's so profound that that's how you learned that lesson in that particular instance, but also how it was so close to home, right? Because sometimes when we look at things from afar, we can say we learn from them, but when something is an experience, then you learn at a different level. Then true learning actually happens over and above just seeing it happen to someone else. So I love that it had to come really close to your context, really close to you, for you to see that. And it's such a profound lesson to learn. You use the word important. So I would like you to unpack that for me a little bit, because it's true, isn't it? We tend to think that the title that someone is bestowed, the position that someone is bestowed, makes them important. But everyone, use the word that the term or the sentence, and I'm paraphrasing, that everyone is important. Talk to me about what that actually means and what it means to you, what it meant to you when you realized it.
For me, it meant that I could see, for example, let me just think of, so here's a very recent example. I recently met UNLEARNers, Unkosinathi Maphumulo, and when I saw him, you know, everybody first flocked to him as, wow, this celebrity, and they wanted to take pictures. And you know, you let people do what they do. And when it was all said and done, there was that opportunity for just us to be us. And one of the things that then came for me was, as a person in the limelight, there are challenges that he goes through where people want to take from him, but nobody, maybe few people tend to want to give to him. So I then had an opportunity to talk to him and say, hey, I'm aware that, you know, as a person in your position, you tend to have people wanting to take from you, wanting to relate with you as this public figure. Excuse me. But I'm sure there are challenges that you go through. There are pressures, you know, to maintain a certain level, a certain behavior, a certain decorum about you. But look, dude, whatever it is that you go through. And then I started kind of like pouring into him. And if you see that picture where somebody then captured that moment, he's got his eyes closed and he's got his hand on mine and we're shaking hands, but he didn't want to let go, because then it was that moment where I was pouring to him. And when we stop looking at people as the office they occupy, but just as human beings, we are able to perceive that they too have their struggles. When you go to work, there are certain pressures that you have as Uzanele. There's a deadline that you have to meet. We all have those deadlines. Actors, celebrities, and if you think about it, celebrities are no different than people who go to work, but their work is just to entertain us, and they are in the public light. And that's basically what makes them different. If you and I and the work that we were doing was to be televised, was to be put on radio, we would become celebrities because we would then be known. And that's the difference between us and them, that their work is there to entertain us. And they then go through pressures. You know, when we meet celebrities and actors and singers, excuse me, the pressures they face, some of them drives them towards drugs. And they have to constantly entertain others. And when they have to constantly entertain, they have to be at their best self, at their most energizing, engaging. And for them to do that, they need something outside of themselves. But when you allow them that space and say, guys, I know you go through this. I know you have pressures. So just allow yourself to be human at times. Sometimes just run into your corner and hide, and just find something that gets to entertain you. You know, it helps them also, how you relate to them.
Sure. And there is just so much value in seeing humans as human beings. I mean, we were talking in a personal sense, but we're also talking at work. Imagine how things change, how our outputs as teams changes when we are able to go, I don't see COO, I don't see manager, I don't see senior leader, I don't see lady who mops the floor. I see us, I see our team. And it reminds me of a very interesting example, and I might be slightly mistaken here, but I think it might have been President Kennedy who walked into NASA and...
Yes, I know I'm interrupting the episode, but it's just to let you know that if you're enjoying this, you are going to love our weekly newsletter. So every single week, I'm sending you tips, tools, insights to help you on your unlearning journey, but also I'm sending you updates about events with various courses that are also going to support you as you learn, change, and grow. Okay, now, finally, let's get back to the episode.
Who walked into NASA, and the story is told that he saw the janitor was mopping the floor, and he said, okay, what do you do here at NASA? And apparently the guy turned around and he said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon, because I'm a part of the vision. I'm a part of the big, ambitious solution wherever I am. And I think that when you said that, it was such a beautiful reminder that as human beings, regardless of where we are in the world, the offices we occupy, what we do for a living, what color we are, what language we speak, we all share, and this is getting deep now, but we all share a piece in this bigger idea, in this bigger context, and in driving something that is so similar, because we can't help but affect each other, can we?
Exactly. You know, when you talk about the story of the janitor, it's one of those things that sometimes I wish I could talk to people who work as cleaners. So note, they are not cleaners, they are not security guards, but they work as. And that's important to define that, because if you take your job and you attach it as your identity, then you're becoming the job. So you as an individual, you fade away. So I would love sometimes to talk to people who work as cleaners, as security, so that they too can get that mindset, that when you're working at a university and you're working as a cleaning personnel, realize that you are very important. I remember at one time, the people who work as cleaners were on strike and they were not working. The toilets, the corridors, the offices, you can imagine. And as soon as they excuse me, as soon as they got back, it was so clean. We appreciated them being there. So they too are part of the education system, right? The security personnel, the very same academics, the very same, we take astronauts, they wouldn't feel safe if security was not there. And so everybody is important. And when we then start seeing people for just being people, then it changes how we all relate with each other. And I believe for me, it was important to learn that lesson for the purpose where I was to go at that point, because it was one of those things that then ushered me into the path that I then took.
And I'd actually like to talk directly to that part. So that's a perfect segue then into who you became. While you were talking just now, you reminded me of so beautifully of a concept during, because I have a, you know, in my previous life, I used to be a primary school teacher. And one of the things that I learned is that when you look at a child, you want to look at the child not as who they are, but as who they could be or who they have the potential to become. So look at them with limitless eyes. Look at them with the eyes of possibility instead of the eyes of judgment. Because oftentimes when we look at people, we often go, oh, this person wearing a bright yellow shirt, wearing a bright orange shirt, they must be very happy. And so we limit them instantly, we put them into a box around an assumption that we've made. But when we look at them as limitless, like you can't even begin to imagine the impact that that person could have, then you open your mind to receiving that person, you open your mind to supporting that person, but also you open your mind to how can we collaborate? And as a result, going back to where we started, Zibuse, how can we support each other? Because regardless of who you are, you have something to offer. So talk to me a little bit now as we close off about how you maintain that. Is there something you say to yourself every morning? Is there a practice that you have that helps you maintain seeing each and every person as important, as human, and as valuable?
I'd be lying if I said it's something that I did. I believe it is the grace upon my life, because I found myself changing very gradually, and I wasn't even aware that I was changing. But it was also through exposure, through my faith. And I realized that every time I would have maybe some toxicity towards a certain type of people, maybe I remember this specific incident where I was becoming hateful. I'm using the word hateful intentionally, hateful towards Nigerians. And I then found myself in a church where the senior pastor was a Nigerian, and I sat under his tutelage. And before I knew it, it was all gone. And then where I stay, Pretoria, sometimes it can be a racially charged environment. And I found myself growing more resentful towards white people, and specifically white Afrikaner people. And as soon as that happened, I found myself in a white church, where then I had to relate with white people. And beyond that, it's as if life has never allowed me the opportunity to be hateful. It has never allowed me the opportunity to just not express any form of sympathy, any form of empathy and care towards somebody else. In my working space, I've had white women contributing to my growth and us becoming very close, that it didn't allow me that space to hate. So that then opened my heart, where I got to love people. I can easily pour into people, and sometimes to even look foolish, you know. I can easily meet you and want to, how can I give into your life? And that's why then Morning Thoughts, as powerful as it is and has become, it's still something that I continuously give for free, because of the feedback that I constantly receive and have received from people who've said these messages have drawn somebody out of depression. You know, it's messages that are now reaching to people in New Zealand, somebody who just came across a post on Facebook and they went through it and thought, wow, you know? So I I can't really pinpoint anything specific, but it's also this continuous need to want to develop, to grow, to become better every day. I'm my biggest critic. If, for example, today during this conversation, I go back and I watch it and I think, oh no, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. Maybe you need to use your hands less. Maybe your hands were too far. Or, all of those things. I then criticize myself and go and be my worst critic and want to develop from there. So I always take feedback from people and I assess it. And that's the most important thing. I assess it. Is this going to contribute towards my growth and development? If not, then I discard it. But if it is, then I work on it. Lastly, I remember I went to an iridologist where I didn't even know what that was. And this lady she takes this machine, she looks into your eyes, and then she maps your personality and your certain ailments. And I remember she was saying that for a person of your personality and traits, you should be here and here and here. And I was saying no. And eventually at the end, she was like, but the things that you have worked on with yourself, people who are 50 years old haven't even started working on those things. And for me, that was the biggest compliment, but it still hadn't sunk in. And that's one thing I also have a challenge with. I had a challenge with it, I think around about 2020, where you could give me a compliment, Zanele, and I would, okay, thank you. But it just went, compliment. Oh, thank you. Somebody said something that day, and I felt like it penetrated a surface within me and it went in. And because of that, I was then able to now give the better or the best of myself or the best star of myself, if there is such a thing. Yeah, so I've grown from there.
Oh, there is so much that you've just said. And it is so powerful because for me, what is standing out is that you are showing just how seeing others as human, seeing others as valuable contributors to society's story starts with, and let me know if I'm wrong here, but what I'm getting from what you're saying is that it starts with seeing ourselves as valuable, important contributors to the societal, the organizational, the personal story that's constantly being written. And unless, and I mean, you can fake really seeing people as genuine, really seeing people as important, but the more we can do some of our internal work, seeing ourselves as valuable, accepting the role we truly can play, and taking agency as well, really helps us to see other people in a similar light. Would you say that that's more or less what you're saying is really helping you on your journey, is some of that self-introspection, that self-awareness and self-management?
Definitely. You just on the head.
Yeah. Oh, it is so beautiful because, like you say, I can feel that self-awareness coming through from you, but also how that self-awareness then translates into, I would love to support other people who are also on this journey of unlearning and relearning and investing in themselves and seeing themselves as people who have agency over their lives, but also who can make an impact wherever it is that they are. So I think that is so valuable about the work that you do. Would you say the morning thoughts are a way that you do that? And you did touch on them a little bit.
Yes, morning thoughts are one of the ways that I do that. And then the other thing that I do is I found myself as an activist in an organization called Dads in the Picture, where we advocate for children to have a positive male role model. And the first positive male role model is the father. And when the father is not there, another immediate positive male role model. So that's another way then that I got to give back. And I think I'm constantly looking for ways to give back. And I'm now in a position where I'm receiving all those invitations and offers to give back. And I'm loving every one of them. But Morning Thoughts has been that vehicle where I'm able to give back. And another important lesson that I've learned is if I'm on social media and I see Zanele's work and I love the fact that she's teaching people how to unlearn so that they can relearn and learn new things so that they are themselves better. And I subscribe to those values and principles. That share button is free. I'm already using data when I'm there, so I might as well click share. And if I have a thought, I can always add the thought there. If I'm on Instagram, I can put that post on my story. Whichever platform I'm on, I know I can share that. And I've learned that instead of just downloading the video, take the link and share the link so that people can always go back and view that content. And wherever you are, it's a simple thing, share. And when you see somebody struggling, ask, how can I make their lives better? And I'm constantly asking myself that, how can I make your life better? I'm here right now. I'm thinking, how can I help Zanele grow her platform? You know, I am part of it, and I know the community that is behind me, because you're not just talking to ZIBUSE'S as an individual, but there's a clan, there's a whole community behind me that I can just say, hey guys, here is Zanele, this is what she does. And then leave it to people to do that.
Oh my goodness. I could talk to you all day. You know, you and I, we know that this could go on and on. Thank you so much, not just for being a guest on this podcast, but thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being someone who has given themselves to the work of being of service to other people and serving calling a bigger message, and just for being relentless in that, because it's challenging sometimes to be the person who challenges the status quo and encourages other people to look beyond the version of themselves that they see now and understand that they are important, that they matter, but also that they can make an impact. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Zanele, for the invitation. I'm really, really genuinely excited to have been invited and just to be part of this. This is something big, you know. I love the branding. It's so vibrant. It speaks to who you are as a person. It speaks to your energy, your youthfulness. Sometimes it's hard to think that you had a past life as a teacher, because I'm thinking, but you look so young. And yet you were a teacher. How far back was that? And then my mind starts thinking, then how old is she? But then I think, okay, let's not go there. But you know, there's something different about you, and it's authentic. I perceive that through even the screen, through hearing you speak, and also what you constantly help people do, because we get stuck in what we've always known. Things have always been done this way. Maybe I need to stay in this career. I don't know how to unlearn. And you come in, and I believe that's a very unique gift, and that comes with its own set of skills. And your being a teacher was a step in that path where you needed to go. And because you've been a teacher, you know how to teach. You know, earlier I said we shouldn't attach the jobs that we do to our identity, but you being a teacher is not necessarily a job you did, but it was a job and who you are. And equally, it's also one of my passions. I love to teach. So you being a teacher, you had to get the methodology of how to teach. And then eventually you got the passion. And I think teaching children in primary school has its own challenges other than the joy, you know, and looking at your face when you now engage with them, I can imagine that you must have had fun doing it. And then taking all of that at primary school and then now working with people in a corporate space where they are grown, it it was all a foundation. And the fact that even when you're not smiling, your face is still smiling, you know, it's something that only you can have. And I love the fact that whoever was helping you design your brand has captured your soul onto the brand. When I saw it, for me, it was, this is Zanele. And the fact that it wasn't saying, Dear Zibuse, it was like, hey, UnLearners. And the email address was like, hey, it's so you. And I want you to know that wherever you go and whatever you do have my support. Wherever I can, I'll always be clicking that link, that share button, anything. You can count on me. If you ever need me to talk to someone about something, hey, I'm your guy.
See, I knew you were going to make me cry eventually. You always
unintentionally.
But, and I think the one thing I want to end off this conversation with for everyone, because sometimes we work in our little silos and we do what we do in our corners, and we're driven by whatever is driving us. And so much of the time, especially in today's world, things are so noisy and we're so obsessed with positions and titles, like we said right at the beginning of this conversation. But I think I'd like to encourage every single unlearner who's listening and watching this to just be encouraged by the fact that, like Zibuse has so beautifully illustrated now, that someone's life is being changed by what you are doing. Someone is being impacted somewhere. You may not know who they are, what's happening, but someone out there needs what you've got. So regardless of who you are, where you find yourself, know that you matter. You have a role to play. You are important. You are valuable. And people out there need what you have. Oh my goodness. I don't know if we've had an episode that's been as juicy as this one. so good. You are amazing.
Oh, yes.
So amazing. Okay, guys, I'm going to close off this episode on that amazing note and hope that everyone enjoyed this just as much as I did, if not more. Please go over to Instagram, any social media that you've got, and follow Zibuse and his journey. Like he said, morning thoughts are his thing. He sends out these positive messages to his community on a daily basis. So if you follow him on Instagram, send him a message, let him know how you can be a part of the work that he does, supporting him, supporting the impact that he makes. Now, clearly on an international level. So it's been amazing having you on the UnLearners podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this one. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast so we know what you love, we know what you like listening to, and we can bring in more of that stuff to really help you on your unlearning journeys. It's been myself, Zanele Njapa, the Unlearning Lady, saying bye for now, and we will see you next time. Bye. The UnLearners. Learn, change, learn. I think if you take one courageous step at a time, it's going to be such a learn, change, grow.